right, it is now 6:31. I'd like to call the CIPC meeting to order. In attendance, please announce your name for those in attendance. Harry Seckman, Chair.
Daniel Gracie, member.
Joe.
Joe Becker.
Clerk. Mike.
Mike Ferguson, clerk.
Dan.
Daniel Gracie, member.
Mitch.
And Mitch for city member.
And our guest tonight is our director of DPW. Joe, would you like to announce your name, please?
Joe Buckley, Public Works Director.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we're going to be discussing some issues tonight regarding DPW needs, the library roof, and some communication department needs. If Mike Moriarty will be coming on, maybe at 7:15. I have not heard back from him. So, Joe, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you being here.
You want to get the minutes out of the way first?
Well, we're going to do that next. Yep. Do I have a motion to waive the reading of the minutes? All right, then I guess not hearing any. Mike, do you want to read the minutes?
Oh, you want to?
Yeah, no, I'll make a motion, Harry, to waive the reading.
Okay, to waive the reading of the minutes. Having waived the reading, is there any discussion on the meeting minutes?
Do you want to vote on that motion and then I can make a motion to accept
Oh,
them?
sorry. Yes. Can we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mike seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Mitch?
Abstain.
And Harry? Yes. Okay. Do we have, with the waiving of the minutes, do we have any discussion on the minutes themselves?
Harry, through you, can I ask a question on the fourth bullet? It's just a typo.
Yeah.
It's the fourth bullet, the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line down.
Okay.
It says consideration should be eliminated and replaced with a quote. And it looks like a typo after the word quote.
Yeah, it should be from.
Yeah.
From, or possibly a reference to the selected bylaw. And that quote from the bylaw is there.
So I would make a motion, Harry, to accept the minutes from Thursday, January 28th with that one correction.
Okay. Hearing a motion, do we have any discussion on the motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, having a second. All in favor? Ron?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Dan?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Mitch?
Abstain.
Harry? Aye. Okay. Motion to be carried forward. You'll be submitting those to Anita then, Mike?
Yeah, I send them to Damien.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Minutes out of the way. What I'd like to go into now is some old business regarding some requests by the director, Joe, from the DPW. Do we have anything from the board or the committee that would like to take us in a particular order, or allow Joe to just start out on his explanations of the request?
Just a suggestion through you, Harry, if I could.
Sure.
Do we want to take it department at a time? So in other words, hit DPW requests and then move into water and or sewer requests?
Yes, I agree with that, Mike. Why don't we do that? Joe, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, but I prefer you field direct questions because it's probably, I didn't come prepared to present. I came prepared to defend. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Then what I'll do is I'll defer to the committee to see if they have any questions first. All right. Hearing none. Joe?
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, so caught me off guard, Joe. I came
Well,
prepared to listen and then ask.
Well, if I could be candid, we had done the original capital improvement plan probably a year ago. And since then, the new town administrator has asked department heads to put together a capital plan, a 5-year capital plan. So I would imagine some of what we presented in that document doesn't match what you had previous. So I think if we were to try and work on the differences between that document and anything we sent previous, because some of it I haven't even put together the paperwork CIPC would typically have yet.
Okay. Joe,
Does that clear up some of the, I know, do you follow what I'm suggesting?
I do, and I think that's a good suggestion. If we can, we'll go off your October 31st, 2019 5-year capital plan and then use that as a comparison to what was submitted this year through the town administrator.
Right.
Is that acceptable?
Right, because what the town administrator did was probably supersede previous procedures, so I think that's probably best.
Okay. Does everybody have a copy of the DPW's 5-year capital plan from October 2019 in their book?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So let's take the first one, fiscal year 21, and that was a 5-ton dump with sander and plow. I believe you already received that, right?
Yep. It's a used truck, but it's a 2015. It came in pretty good.
Okay. Can you tell me what the cost was on that?
$49,500.
Okay. All right. And you have you received that, or are you waiting for the equipment to be installed on it?
No, everything's here. We bought the truck used from Vermont and paid to have it delivered, and it's done 2 snowstorms already.
Okay.
Very
Did
good.
it do my street so I could see what it looked like? Do I remember?
It's blue. It's number 3.
Okay. Okay.
It's
Now
a 2015 5-ton international dump truck. It has a 10-co in-body sander. It came with a plow and a wing.
Okay.
There's roughly 50,000 miles on it.
Oh, that's not bad for a used truck.
It's not bad at all.
No.
No. Okay, that looks like the only thing we have for fiscal 21 for you under highway stuff. The other stuff is fiscal 2022. And under that, you also had the purchase of a used 5-ton dump. Is that another one you're looking at, or is this the one that
Yep,
you have?
this will be the next one. We just replaced a 1998 International.
Okay,
Next one we want to replace is a 2000 International.
okay,
I'll be frank, I think both of them have been here too long.
okay. And that also comes with a sander and plow.
That would be the goal. Yep.
Okay. Do
We've
I
had
have any
success
questions?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Joe.
We've had some success buying them out of state. There are a couple other New England states that roll them over more frequently than we do.
Okay,
So is it basically you're shooting for the same thing, basically like a 4 or 5-year-old?
Yep.
Okay.
all right. And you're expecting this to be, it would be
Oh,
this
who was
year.
that?
Huh? It would be, what's what?
Who's in the meeting, Mitch?
That's Anna. She likes to wave at people on the TV.
Oh, there she
Hi,
is.
Anna.
Okay. Hi, Anna.
I think it's great.
So we are looking at, if it's going to be 2022, then you were looking to have this on recommendation for this year
Yes, sir.
to put it on. Okay. You know, Joe, do I have, let me just see here. I don't know. Do I have a capital project request form on that?
I have one in my office, but I don't believe you have one.
Okay. Could you get that to us, please?
Sure.
Unfortunately, we're going to use ours for that, or fortunately. Tell me about why you need this. What's the importance of having this as the #1 priority for 2022? over the others?
The 5-ton dump is used to, it's basically used roughly 6 months a year. It's used to plow and sand roads. It's not something you can typically hire someone to come in and do for you. If you don't have the truck on site, we can't get our roads open quick enough.
Okay.
It's just that simple.
Now, you have down here, well, I'm looking at this used dump here, estimated, what's the year you're looking to replace? International 2554, is that the one we're talking about?
Yep, we just replaced one recently that was 98. The one we're recommending to replace now is 2000.
Okay, so the International.
Dump body is rotted out on it.
All right. Now you have down here that you've used it for 21 years and it has a maintenance cost annually of about $1,500.
That's just a rough guess.
Okay, I mean, it's not 10,000 a year.
No,
Okay,
no, but it's not your regular maintenance either. I mean, it's somebody welding patches in place. It's
okay,
a great piece of equipment.
all right. I take it that it still passes code. You can still drive it. It's not,
It will still pass inspection, or at least it passed inspection this last go round.
okay. Yeah, it sounds iffy for the next one.
It does.
Okay, all right. We're looking at a purchase. What would have you considered a lease for this? Or because of the way you're buying them, they don't lease if you're buying it used?
They typically don't buy, not if you lease it. If you wanted to buy a new one, you could probably look at a lease to own, maybe 3 years, but then you're spending $150,000.
Okay,
And I frankly, if you were gonna, if the truck was used daily, I think that might be a wise decision. But whereas Rutland uses most of their heavy equipment winter only, we'll use dump trucks throughout, year round, 1 or 2 of them, but not all 6. Those go out in the snow, they sand, they plow, and I think it's a safe investment that way. Again, if it was a piece
What's
of
the anticipated service life on this, Joe?
hold on, Dan. Yes, Joe? I'm getting feedback here from 2 people. That's what I'm saying. Did you finish?
I'm good.
Okay, Dan, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just asking what the anticipated lifespan would be.
I'm going to estimate 15 years. I think we shouldn't keep equipment that's more than 20 years old.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee on this particular item? Joe, I have one more question.
Absolutely.
It concerns me with the future prospects of needing another dump truck. With the amount of homes we've built, the amount of roads that we've laid, not only the truck, but also the amount of labor or employees that we have, where are we headed in the next 5 years? What if we get this truck, will this take care of us for the next 5 years for the extension of roads and everything else we're going to be putting in?
It's a good question. I think, so your question is basically, I'm going to put it back to you.
Okay.
You're asking me, do I think the fleet is big enough?
Right. Do I think the fleet is big enough, or are we looking possibly at another $50,000 next year?
Well, you've got.
I'm not seeing it here on 20.
No, it skips a year because we've got some other things in front of it, but it does come back around.
Okay, so is it to replace or new, or add to the fleet, or is it to replace?
No, I'm not currently. That capital plan doesn't reflect any additions.
Okay.
And to answer your question, where I think we would be weak would be staff.
All right.
As it is now, we have 3 pieces of hired equipment in a snowstorm when we're plowing.
All right.
I mean, your whole department, Joe, is short. I mean, you're short on water
I'm
too.
sorry. Could you start repeating, Mitch?
Oh, sorry. I'm going to say, Joe, I think your whole department is short on staff. I mean, you're down in water, and so I think that's definitely true.
There is some equipment that sits in a snowstorm that ideally, if we had more people, we'd have out.
Yeah.
Do you have enough certified drivers, CDs
No.
or whatever? No.
Everyone there has a license, yes, but we simply don't have enough people.
Okay.
That's why I'm hiring trucks with drivers. But I would caution you that there's a shortage of people like that statewide.
Is that anticipated to resolve, Joe, or is this truck gonna be sitting unused if
No,
staffing
that
space
truck would
is-
definitely be used in a snowstorm. Definitely.
You don't have enough people with CDLs?
We don't have enough people, Michael.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
I notice on the, if you go out in the 5-year report that the town manager gave us in fiscal year 24 and 25, again, it says a 5-ton dump. Would this just be to replace some of the equipment you have that's dying?
We're simply trying to get everything within, that 10 to 15-year-old range.
Yeah.
We're really just playing catch up.
Okay,
I have no, so, Dan, something that might sit in a snowstorm would be a Ford F-550 or a Ford F-450. That's
Yeah, not the big
smaller,
ones.
and we'd put that out after the storm possibly. But big dumps, no, we don't have those sitting.
okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
All right,
Are you bringing in hired equipment at all to plow?
yes,
Okay, so let me ask you another question financially, Joe.
sure.
If we were to purchase that, and let's say we do it with add it into a bond or something, or what's the cost to hire somebody versus buying another one on an annual basis cost? So say it costs us what, $3,000 a year to hire somebody to plow, or $5,000 a year? How does that compare with buying another one?
Oh, what's the return on your investment that way?
Well, number one, we don't have enough people, so that's a separate issue.
Right.
But the issue I'm looking at financially, is it cheaper right now to go out and hire those 3 or 4, or aren't there enough people out there to even hire to do that job?
If I were to talk to my peers in other cities and towns, they
Okay.
would all complain about the lack of people available to do what you're describing.
Even outside sources?
Yes,
Okay,
That also gives you substantially less control over the situation too, doesn't it? I mean,
it does.
yeah, and that's the problem, Harry, is, there's a shortage of those people. So I have no idea where Rutland would fall in terms of the storm plan to get those people out here. But then if you got to send the trucks out again, or something happens, or you want to, storm manage better, it just gives you a lot less control than it would be to have it done internally.
The going rate for a truck like that would probably be $85 or $95 an hour.
Yeah.
okay. I mean, it seems like we've had an especially snowy winter so far recently, or is that about?
On the drinking water side, it's like a savings account, so I'll take it.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Any other questions on priority number 1, purchase of a used 5-ton dump truck?
So I guess just for your ROI question, Harry,
Yeah,
if it's like $100 an hour, and let's say the machine runs 100 hours, like a winter, is that reasonable, Joe? Maybe 100 hours for all the storms?
I think it's a fair statement. Yep.
So that would be $10,000 a year we would be paying to outsource that versus having one of those trucks internally.
okay. So when you look at ROI, you're talking, say, 10 years, life of truck, 10 years times 10, it's 100,000 versus a $50,000 truck.
But it's more like 15 years that we're gonna get out of the truck.
Well, if it's a new truck, right? I mean,
No, it's 20 years total. So if it's a 5-year-old truck, you can get 15 years, right, Joe?
Right.
That's the plan. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the feedback, everybody, on that. No more questions on that one, or we all settled on that? Because I'd like to move on to the next one. And that's priority number 2.
For the most part, before I forget, these are all good questions.
These are all what?
They're all good questions.
Okay. All right. So I see here that in fiscal also 22, we have $15,000 for Plows, which coincides with the new purchase of priority number 2, purchase of updated plows for $15,000. Joe, I see some basic explanation down here, but could you tell us a little bit about why? If the trucks have plows now, why do we need new plows? To me, it's steel. So if you could explain that a little.
I probably should have brought some photos, and a year ago, we actually were able to walk through DPW. At one point before I got here, there was a belief that you could take a plow off an existing truck and reuse it on a new purchase. And some of the plows have become so rotted through that they're not worth repairing.
Are they still worth using then?
They're being used, but they're on their last leg.
Okay.
I got some clean quotes in preparation for this meeting. One plow was estimated at 5,000. I want to say the bigger plows are closer to 8.
And how many plows are we talking about here for 15?
2, one big one, one small one.
2 plows, okay.
Yep.
Now, Harry, through you, Joe, for the big one, I notice in future fiscal years you have, in FY24, FY25, you're looking for more international dumps with sander and plows. Is it safe to assume that the big one that you're looking to purchase here would not be the same as one of the trucks that we're looking to replace in a year or two?
Yes. And the out years are really just driven by age, Joe.
Okay.
I look at the fleet overall. I'm just trying to get it up.
Okay. Joe, do you have a request in, or do you always make a request for additional employees to drive these trucks that can, when you say you're short, let me get to the big question. If we buy these trucks or we add to them in the next couple of years, will you have enough people to run those extra trucks?
First off, if in the current capital plan as proposed, I have not suggested buying anything new or anything additional, only upgrading the existing fleet.
Right. But
There are no new equipment purchases planned.
if there's a major snowstorm and all these trucks can be, that we're upgrading can go out, do we have enough drivers to send them out?
No.
Okay.
But everything that we've discussed about so far would definitely go out.
Okay.
The only thing that would be sitting would be a couple smaller ones.
All right. So that's really, the issue is when a major snowstorm hits, the small ones stay here.
Yep.
If the fire department needed to go out, they now have their own truck versus you would have had to send out one of the small ones with a driver if the snowstorm hit. So that's not an issue anymore?
I don't know. I think I'd take the fire department issue off the table from snow operations. By means of example, we're currently the hired trucks are our small trucks. In other words, we've hired people with small trucks to come in and plow for us.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons I asked
to fill that gap. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, but one of the reasons I asked this was that we approved a truck for plowing for when it had to go out on a medical situation and they couldn't get there because of the drives, and you had to send somebody out prior to that. You don't need to do that anymore. So now that person is available to drive one of the big trucks because that burden doesn't fall to you anymore, correct?
No, I think all they would have done was just dispatch a truck to an emergency situation. They probably just moved somebody. That's what I would have done. I don't, so that now, if anything, they're able to focus more on roads.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the fire department itself. We used to, a couple of years ago,
Okay.
if there was a fire and the people had to be called out to a road that was 300 feet long, snowed in,
Yep.
you had to send one of your guys out to do that.
Right.
Now they have their own truck, so that frees up one of your guys not to have to go out to do that, so they can do a big truck or whatever else is needed. What I'm trying to get at here is we have all these trucks, and I'm trying to find out if we have all these trucks over the next couple of years, we take the burden off doing something the fire department needs because they have their own. So your guys can now use these trucks that we're looking at getting in the next couple of years. Does that make sense?
Again, I think the fire department issue is separate and distinct.
Okay. Okay. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, so now getting back to, I didn't mean to get off at the plows because I just want to make sure we had enough drivers for everything that comes in. So the plows we're looking at are going this year as well. So the 50 for the truck and the 15 for the plows is going to be requested in fiscal 22.
Yep.
Okay. So we could go into fiscal 23, but right now we're only looking at what our recommendations are going to be for now. Is there
And
any?
those recommendations don't match the capital plan that was submitted by the administrator. So that's not what you're looking at, right?
What I'm looking at is, I wish I could, well, maybe I can show you, Joe. Well, it's in reverse, sorry about that. But this
No, I
is,
can get to it.
huh?
That's
Yeah,
all that's
this-
listed for highway?
Yeah, this is the stuff that was submitted to us by, that was in the book by the town
Okay.
administrator.
So there's
Highway
nothing else,
5-year capital improvement narrative.
right? So there's nothing else in there?
No, there is,
There
there's
is.
three, yeah, there's three more items.
That's
Right,
what I was saying. I thought there were more.
there are, but what I'm saying is that these two that we did already match this.
Oh, okay.
And
All right,
so-
sorry for the confusion.
That's all right. So the 23, we're not going to go into because we're only dealing with next year for now. For
Right.
23, okay. But we do have 3 more priorities there.
Yep.
And that is the purchase of a service van. You only have 1 on here for 30,000, not 2. Because I have a,
Yeah, we reshuffled the priority when we wrote the list.
okay. So the purchase of a service van, you'd like to replace a 2004 GMC van used by staff to clean and maintain buildings in Rutland.
Yep.
Push the need, Joe. Why? What's such a dire need to have that for next year?
Oh, because it won't pass inspection.
Oh, that's it?
Oh, that's all it is. It's just rusting away.
Okay. Okay.
I did get a quote today from Colonial Ford to replace that with a van, and it's similar to the one that the animal control officer uses.
Okay.
And the quote I got was $24,500
All right.
or $25,000.
That's half what the.
I will
service
send
van,
that when I send you an updated form.
That's not a bad price, actually.
No, it isn't.
The new
Uh,
van for the animal control is twice that.
Well, it's got to be retrofitted and all that stuff.
All we asked them to put into it, Mitch, was a bulkhead. I mean,
Well, I mean, for the animal control, I mean, that's probably why.
oh yeah,
the cost is
Yeah.
more.
Okay. On the van, Joe, we don't have any backup information on that. You said you just got it today.
yeah,
Did you
I'll
think-
get it to you.
I appreciate that. Thank
And
you.
I can come back, this is good first step.
Okay. Well, our problem is we have to start lining ourselves up to make recommendations because we have to
Understood.
submit it to the board and the finance committee. Okay. Now, purchase of a brush chipper for 35.
So fun.
Could you explain that one to us?
The current chipper the town has is a 1998 Bandit chipper. We had it painted and refurbished in-house, and we have been using it, but it's just tired, that's all. The chippers use, you have a big windstorm, you have clear an easement, that's what it's for.
Okay. And how are you going to purchase that? Where?
What do you mean? That would be,
Are we going to get that out of state, from the state? Are we going to get it used, an ex-nursery or whatever?
no, that would be a state contract, right off the state contract. I can send that price with you as well. I got that today.
Okay. If you could, that would appreciate it.
No, that would be directly off the state contract. I don't see any merit in buying a used chipper, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? All right. And let's move on to priority number 5. Under highway, facility updates and repairs, $10,000. What are we talking about there, Joe?
When I sat down with the town administrator, when we put together a capital plan, we identified some problems within our building. It's a 20-year-old building, and we started to come up with a list of small repairs that have to be done over time.
Okay,
That particular one is based on doors. We have some doors that have rotted away that have to be replaced.
I thought they were all metal, no?
They are all metal, but we have some doors that I found out someone had put used doors in a couple places in the building. So
These overhead doors?
no, these are just person doors.
Okay. All right. Do you
That
think?
kind of thing. What that grew out of was, look, our building is 20 plus years old, and we have to start reinvesting in the building to make sure that we get more time out of it. That's all.
All right.
On the expense on that, Joe, is it possible that it might end up being slightly less than that? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, because that's kind of that 10,000 is a bit of a magic number
Nope. We
in
just
terms of our involvement.
I see. Yes, it could easily be less than that.
Yeah, I through you, Harry, the point I would make on this is, I think it would be helpful, Joe, to have more specifics of what the facility updates and repairs consists of. It's pretty generic. So far, the only thing we've talked about is doors, but are we talking, in the notes here, it says HVAC security lifts, but I mean, I don't know that we should put a lift, for example, into facility updates. I would think a lift would be an initiative unto itself. So I think it would be more helpful if we're talking about a building facility and the immediate building needs, what specifically those are, and getting the prices associated with those needs so that we have a clear breakdown of what it entails.
We can try and do that, sure. But again, there's no room in the current highway budget to make any building repairs.
Right.
And the building is now 20 to plus years old, so you have to start investing in it over time. I don't know necessarily if we had identified the stuff in advance. We just put a place marker.
Then, I mean, I would be of the opinion in that case that even if it's, a 1 year portion of the budget, that if there's nothing specific, there's nothing specific for us to prioritize. That's my
Sure.
problem.
Right.
And so if that's the case, and if that can't be changed, then I would suggest that one of two options be followed. The first being, like I said, have a prioritized list of what those needs are and the associated costs. Or if you're simply looking to have kind of a miscellaneous building repair line item in the budget, that as needs arise, they can be cared for, that be dealt with in the budget process, not in a capital improvement process.
And there's two quick things. One, I think you're going to see some of that come out of the facilities plan being generated as part of the community compact grant. And two, in the short time I've been here, we've either level funded or lowered the DPW highway budget. So I don't think that's a realistic, I'm just calling it out.
Yep.
Right.
I'm just trying to make sure that somebody invests in their property. That's all I'm suggesting.
And if you want to go the capital improvement route, and I'm not discouraging you, all I'm saying is that in order to do it, we need more information to do that with.
Fair enough. And I think once you have that facilities plan in hand, you'll be able to see that up in front of you and be able to set some realistic priorities, not just at DPW townwide.
Yeah.
When do you think that's possible, Joe? Because of what our time frame is for submission of recommendations.
The contractors did the initial walkthrough to generate an estimate for bidding on that work today. So I don't know. I imagine you'd have a contractor on the ground within a month or so.
Okay.
The facilities report in hand, we'll probably get it in draft first. Probably 2.5 months from today.
Oh, that's going to be further than that. I mean, that grant period is a pretty long grant period.
But
so they have a while to complete that, right?
They do, but my understanding was Ron wanted it done quicker for just the type of conversations we're having right now.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, Joe, we will not be able to make this recommendation from a committee standpoint, because it's gonna fall outside the time frame of what we have to report to the board and the finance committee.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so this may be a 2023 issue rather than a 22. I
It
mean-
very well may be, but when we laid out a plan, I was
Okay,
critical that something had to be put in to protect those facilities.
okay. Is everybody somewhat on board with that it may not go in? We'll try if we get it, but our report has to be in sooner than what you're expecting us to get the information.
Oh, no, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, I fully support ongoing improvements. I mean, if we look at this from a realistic standpoint, let's face it, the building we borrowed for the building, it's a 40-year note borrowing term of the building, and it's 20 years old. So this building has to at least last another 20 years, so that it lasts throughout the whole time we've borrowed for it. So I fully agree that we need to invest some money into it. All I'm saying is that we need the specifics in order to put it in the priority list.
Right, okay. Any other comments on priority number 5, facility updates and repairs? All right, hearing none. I would like to move on now to the water and sewer enterprise fiscal year 2022 requests. And looking at priority number 1, sewer, purchase of pumps for field use. I am seeing nothing. Wait a minute, I'm looking at DP, am I looking, wait a minute, I'm looking at DPW.
I don't think they're gonna come in at quite at 10,000. They'll probably come out underneath your threshold. Where that came from is when we had the big water main breaks on Miles and some other locations, our ability to bypass and deal with flooding was very limited. Didn't have the right gear. We had some pumps, but they had failed. We ended up borrowing a pump from the town of Holden to get the trench dry enough to get a person in the hole to make the repair. That's why those supplies were called out, but I don't think they'll hit the $10,000 mark. I'll put the quotes together for you anyway, so you can have them for record purposes, but that's where that comes from. We literally just didn't have the equipment to be able to do the job. I can't hear anybody.
That's great, Joe. If it's outside, if it's under the 10 grand, then it's,
Yeah, I mean, Mike, you remember the Stanley trash pumps that the water crews had in the city?
yes, I do.
They're about those are $2,500 to $3,000 a piece plus the hoses.
Right.
I think we can come under 10,000. That was just a back of envelope estimate,
You
but
can get one for each division and keep them under 10 grand.
that's the plan. But we had to at least put it down. It's just equipment you have on hand for an emergency. That's all. And I wanted separate for water and separate for sewer for sanitary reasons.
With sanitary, it's perfect sense.
Harry's on mute. Somebody want to let him know?
Harry?
Harry, we can't hear you.
I don't know how I hit mute. Okay. So these two here, more than likely what you're saying, Joe, is they will not rise to the level of the CIPC.
No, but I'm still going to go forward with getting the estimates so you guys have them on file.
Okay. Great, thank you. And let's see here. I think that was it. And then we're getting into 23 and 24 requests, which we will deal with next year. We'll review these, and if you don't mind, we're going to have you come in maybe throughout the year to start
Absolutely.
discussing the 23s and 24s and stuff, so we get an idea, Joe.
I think it's well worth it, and I mean, I draft that list, but I value everyone here's opinion. So.
Okay. Before we move on to the library roof and building repairs, well, do we have any other discussions or comments on the highway and sewer capital improvements for 2022?
I have one comment,
Yeah.
actually, that affects all 3 divisions. The current capital plan does not include capital expenditures such as roadway updates, sidewalk updates, new water main, new sewer main. Those are have typically been done separately. This current list only reflects capital equipment.
Right.
We'll get to those, capital infrastructure improvements and develop a plan. We're just not there yet.
Okay. Now, Joe, does any of that fall under Chapter 90 money?
Oh, most definitely. Yep. Some of it falls
Okay.
under Chapter 90 money. And the current capital spending in water and sewer is a pre-existing article.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other comments or suggestions, questions? Joe, did you have something?
Mr. City, we do
Yes.
have a water staffer coming on board in the next 2 weeks.
I'm sorry.
We do have someone new coming to water in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, I know. I know that you guys everybody's working, triple over there because I know you've been short. So certainly could use the help.
We're turning a corner on. How's that?
Good.
Okay. Thank you, Joe, for the impacts, information so far. And if we could now go into the library roof repairs. I know you and I have had some discussion regarding the heating unit or HVAC unit in regards to that. Let me get to that piece. Let's see it there. Where was the library? Hold on a second, let me turn to that. Okay, we had a failed HVAC unit, what you call it, Joe, or heating unit.
Yep, a rooftop heating unit failed.
It's not an HVAC, it's not air conditioning, it's just heating.
I think it's just heating. It would qualify. It could be classified as an air handler.
Okay,
Rooftop heater.
When did this fail?
3 months ago. There are multiple heating units, large heating units in the library. I want to say 5 or 6 of them. 2 of them are in questionable shape. One's definitely has to be replaced. They're all the same vintage, so they're all listed in a 5-year plan.
yeah, I have it here, you have one each year, one in 2022, nothing this year, but for 2022, 2023, and 2024. You have heating units to be replaced, and in 2025, so there's 5 heating units that you're looking to replace.
Yep. They're all the same vintage, and some of them no longer have parts available.
Okay, so you got 5 units, so you're looking at $125,000 at minimum, but here's my, I guess my concern, Joe, is if we're looking at a heating unit and 5 of them, if this one's failing, how are the other 4 looking at? Are they in the process of failing? Or can we get to them with this time schedule?
Just to be clear, we have one that's definitely failed.
Right.
2 different vendors look at it. The assembly was leaking gas. It was no longer safe. It had to be shut off. It can't be repaired. We have a second one in the basement that I believe they have running right now, but they had trouble getting parts for it. All of the units were bought at the same time, so we spread out the purchase and replacement of them over 5 years.
And do you think that the last one we replaced will hold up for those 5 years?
We can only, that is the hope. Yep.
Okay, all right.
We didn't, when we just laid out the capital plan, throwing 125,000 all at once at the wall didn't seem like a wise decision. So we phased our approach.
Any concern about, because you said there's 3 on the roof?
Yes, I believe there's 3 on the roof and then 2 down below.
From what our previous discussions have been, there's some construction work that needs to be done on the roof for these 3 units. One is very bad because it's been rotted, correct?
Right, but the heaters are not all, they're not in series. They're spread out throughout the structure.
Okay,
Some are in worse, some of them are in a worse spot than others. So in other words, the heaters are spread around the building. They're not all in one spot.
okay, so I guess my concern is if we're going to replace them over a period of time, number one, we know we need one now, but we don't know when the other ones are gonna fail.
Right,
2, we don't know if the wood is gonna crack or rot or whatever, so that it's gonna affect the replacement of the other one. I mean, could it fall through? Could it be damaged? So now we're dealing with one sooner than we want to. So I'm trying to figure out what's the infrastructure like that can support that time frame of 5 years out.
Can I, Harry, through you, can I ask a clarification question?
sure.
On the FY22 request list for the library, I see 3 items. But I do not see a heating unit as one of those 3 items. So Joe, since this was prepared, is this a new request? Because I see the request on here to work on like the membrane, the infrastructure that these heating units sit on the rooftop, but I don't see a heater unit being replaced or being requested to be replaced until FY23. So are there in fact 4 requests for FY22?
I didn't write it, Mr. Becker.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I was only brought in as a consultant. I don't know.
Okay,
They
But we're
asked-
definitely, so let me list the ones that we have and you can tell me, we can maybe answer the question through this
I'll
way.
do the best I can.
Yep, we have number 1 priority is the rooftop infrastructure repair, like the membrane and
Okay.
whatnot that Weston and Sampson wrote up. And then we have the exterior painting as priority number 2. And then we have as priority number 3, the interior carpets or a portion of them. What I think I'm hearing is that there's actually a new priority number 1 for a total of 4 requests to actually replace one of these heating units.
I think that'd be wise, yes.
Okay.
What I don't know is if the administrator has taken any action regarding the recent failure. I do know the library administration and his office were talking, but I don't know where they're at with that, as to whether they want to list it on there or not.
Okay.
so could you give me another clarification,
I'll try.
Joe? You say repairs to the rooftop units in the library. It'll cost $25,000 for the repair of the roof replacement or structural integrity? Or are we talking about 2 different costs here?
I think we're talking about 2 different costs.
We are. Harry, the number that you're reading, and that's why I was asking the question, relates to the report that Weston and Sampson wrote up to repair the roof covering systems is what they term it as, which is the areas on the roof where all of the HVAC resides.
Okay,
What happened was if you mind if I jump in for a second, Joe?
Absolutely. Yep.
The roof had been replaced and there were still leaks, still water getting into the building. And the roofing contractor had been called back a couple times to verify, and the building inspector looked at it, and it looks like they did what they were paid to do. We brought the folks in from Weston and Sampson's building section, and what they did was they identified basically defects in the design or the architectural assembly on that cupola, which was that was separate from what the roofer had done, that was linked to some of the water getting into the building. Does that clarify?
I think so.
All right.
So we're talking about replacing a heating unit, if you will, airflow unit for 25,000, and then we're also talking about 25,000 for the replacement or correction of the structures that these items are going to sit on.
Yeah, and that was the engineer's estimate. So I don't know how that's going to come in.
So that's $50,000.
Yeah, The roof work is just to stop water from coming into the building, not so much to hold up the air conditioning units, but you have water coming into the building.
Right now,
Yeah, yep.
okay.
It's
Is
not
that-
every rain, but you know, there are times when you have water getting in. And
Okay,
it's because of it's a design flaw. It's not so much related to the roof work.
so if we had to clarify,
Reported,
so if we had to clarify importance, Joe, we would want to repair the roof work. If we had to spend $25,000, we would want to repair the roof work before we got to the heating units. Because the more
correct.
current pressing issue is the roof.
Right.
Can that be repaired without taking out the units?
I don't know.
Oh,
I honestly don't know.
okay.
The report from Weston and Sampson led me to believe that it wasn't structural to those heating units. It had to do with the way the roof was built and the way it was tiled.
All right. Okay, so the way it's written here, Joe, could you have, or could you get us a little different writing then that lays out the difference between these two for us? Because I don't have anything of, where are we here? Other than the 3 roof tack units in the library, that railings are in bad shape and need addressing. Or, well, we have roughly, I think it was 30,000 here, but it says 25, so we'll go with 25 for the roof. So is this the one, as a capital project request, would this be priority number 1 on the library, or would it be priority number 2? When you look
Is
at
this, I think we have, if we're gonna protect the life of the building, I think priority number 1 is to make sure no more water gets in.
okay, so that would be one of the issues we're gonna consider then, is the damage to the roof. So priority number 1 is damage. Priority number 2 then, if we can move these around, would be the repair of the HVAC unit.
Yeah.
Or the
Replacement.
heating
It's
unit.
no longer repairable.
Okay, our replacement of that unit,
Yep.
okay? Number 2. And then if we move on to number 3 would be exterior painting, and number 4 would be interior carpets.
Right.
Okay,
I think
That
the
makes
exterior
sense.
painting, it is valid. If you're gonna protect the life of your investment, I definitely think it needs to be painted. It's not an aesthetic decision.
yeah, okay,
Anyone who's gone to any meetings down there, you can see along some of the columns where you're starting to see peeling paint. And if you're gonna protect your investment, it has to be painted.
any comments on the way we're redoing this alignment of 1, 2, 3, and 4 regarding the infrastructure of the roof first, or the replacement or repair of the roof first? And then the heating unit second, that we can consider under separate items?
No, my only question would be is on the painting, Joe. And I know the initial cash outlay would be greater, but does it make more sense to side that building versus painting? Would it long-term get us away from the rot issues and things of that nature? Repainting every 5 years or whatever it is.
Well, how long has the library been there?
90, I don't know exactly, mid to late 90s, Joe. I think towards the late 90s, probably 98,
Was it painted
97.
at all before then, Joe?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can't remember.
There's no harm in calling up a vendor and getting an estimate on the siding.
Mhm.
I think the painting though is fine.
You know, I do know over the years we've had, this isn't the first time we've had the, the clapboard replacement and things of that nature. That's why I'm asking about the siding, and would it alleviate some of that need over the years?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. I just don't, I mean, I can't off the top of my head tell you if the investment's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll get us that information, Joe?
I can ask for it and get you a quote on siding.
Okay, okay. So is the committee agreed that priority number 1 is the roof damage, priority number 2 is the heating unit, the one heating unit. Priority number 3 is the painting. And then priority number 4 is the carpet. So we agreed that that is the lineup of what we're going to be considering.
Agree with that.
Okay. All right. And let's
Is there, if I may through the chair,
Yeah, go ahead. Well, maybe we'll have somebody else talk in your place there.
yeah, I think my question is, because that board I think is structured, or at least they have a friends group or something that's a nonprofit. I mean, has anyone talked to the library board of trustees about maybe trying to raise some money to get some of that work done over there? Because it just seems like that building needs so much, and there just really hasn't been any activity to get any of that stuff done. I mean, is that a possibility that maybe we can talk to the CIPC, can meet with the library board?
I think that's a good question. I can only give you my feedback, Mitch, and that I have had discussions with the library board a couple of times, and the feedback that I was getting, whether I heard it right or not, the feedback I was getting was that the building is not the responsibility of the board of trustees of the library.
And that's great. If everyone wants to abscond responsibility, that's fine. But, you know, that building is very important to the town. And I think a lot of people, if they knew how dire it was over there, would be willing to help out maybe in some capacity to get some of these projects done. I mean, the building needs a lot, and
Right.
they do a lot with a little. So I understand that that's the board's position on that. I'm just trying to think of creative ways, because, you know, we're talking about these capital expenses, and, you know, Joe knows because he's running the whole department. Like, our budget it's tough this year, and it's going to continue to be tough for some of these things. So that's my only question. But maybe we can at some point talk to that board and see what we can do long term over there. If there's some stuff we can get done, maybe.
I have no objection to that. Mitch, perhaps you could give us some feedback on how you would go about that. Would it be through a Zoom meeting, or what would you be, you know, where you're the chair of the board, how would you go about soliciting their feedback?
Well, I'm not the chair of this board.
No, the chair of the select board.
Oh, I was going to dump it on you, Harry. No, but I think we just request to meet with them and just talk. You know, I know Joe's worked in Weston Stanton over there. Everyone's talked about kind of what that building needs. And, you know, there's a lot between the aesthetics, the structural integrity, the carpeting, the flooring, and the building is used for community events. So I think we're missing an opportunity, maybe if we can either pursue some grant funding or look to raise money somehow, or partner with folks. I'm just trying to think creatively, because I know that it's going to be tough conversations with FinCom about some of these improvements.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, you've sat in multiple chairs in town, Joe Becker, and you've worked with the library board before. I mean, is that a possibility, you think, or?
Well, anything's a possibility, Mitch. But I know in a lot of the past conversations we've had with the library, any of the funds that they have outside of general budget funding, they like to target programming with. And in fact, I know a lot of those funds also have specific purposes that they can be used for, and they can't
Sure.
be used for anything outside of those purposes. So there's some constraints in that nature as well. You know, outside of that, fundraising outside of any of those particular funds that have purposes, yeah, I mean, there's opportunities there. So I don't disagree with trying that and having that conversation, but at the end of the day, it is a town building, and like any other town building, I think if there's needed repairs, we gotta probably face the music and deal with those from town funding too.
No, absolutely. It's just it's tough to see the building in the shape it is right now. I know that there's just a lot, and the building is, again, kind of a centerpiece for a lot of our events. So it's, you know, it's
Joe,
important to have that building done up nice.
Joe, is this building included in the facilities study that's being done? Good. Okay. I was hoping you'd say yes. Sometimes it gets excluded for certain reasons. I wanted to be sure it was part of the overall mix. So that's good. It'll be a part of that puzzle that we have to put the pieces together on and prioritize the needs.
Is any of the work being done, Joe, redundant? I know when the roof was done, the folks that did the roof did it to the letter of the contract that they had or the scope that they provided. And it's my understanding that we didn't address everything that probably should have been addressed when that was done. Are we going to have to do any of that work over when we replace those units on the roof or anything like that? Is it going to be, I guess, duplicative of what we had done several years ago?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I believe the expert from Weston Sampson identified some design defects and some things and some flashing, and that was separate and distinct from typical roofing work.
Okay. Thank you.
I will say I will try to reach out to Carrie to see if we can get her or someone else or others from the board to the Zoom meeting to discuss perhaps their participation in raising some money or helping raise some money for this. I'll do that. I'll reach out and see what success we have.
It's just an idea. I know that Carrie's very passionate too about the needs of that building over there. And again, it's just because that building needs so much, just throwing it out there because they have an existing infrastructure for fundraising. But that's it.
I worked with Carrie to write the list that you have in front of you. Carrie actually drafted it. And if it helps, I can come back when you want to talk with Carrie.
Okay. Again, I'm trying to see, one of my concerns have always been, we have this beautiful building in town that really should be a showcase for this town, okay? And for some reason, we can't seem to come together between the library board of trustees and the town to effectively communicate to get things done. So hopefully, if I reach out to that Carrie and the board, we'll be able to start a dialogue. Maybe we can improve this because it really should be a showcase. That is a beautiful building, a beautiful library. We use it for so much, and it really should be the showcase in town for the money we spent to it. So that was my concern for reaching out to see if we can't get something for the future a little more cohesive.
Definitely gets a lot of use. I mean, the pandemic side, if we were back, in more regular times, it definitely gets a lot of use.
Okay, any other discussion? Thanks everybody for their comments on that. Any other discussion on the exterior painting? I'd like to move on to the carpets. We had a walkthrough. I was one of the people that walked through and talked to Carrie about the library. There is so much other stuff that has to be done there. And she showed me the carpets. I see where they are affected by the rain that's coming in, by the leakage on the roofs and stuff, and the wear and tear. So there's no doubt we do need to upgrade the carpeting. But she also showed me, and I'm going to touch back on this, is that the drop box. Joe, are you familiar with how bad the book drop box is in the library?
I am not. No.
If I wanted to, I could probably kick it in with my foot and get in and steal anything I want. That's how bad it is inside there. The floor is all, unless the floor was fixed, it's all falling apart. So it's nice to put the carpets in, but if the library needs other extensive work, and I'm hoping that's what the building, would you say, Joe, the building?
We're generating a facilities plan.
Thank you.
For all town buildings.
That will show what is needed in the facilities plan. So we can talk about the carpeting, but until the roof gets fixed, it seems like that is a different year priority. Okay.
We'll see what shakes out on that.
Is there also, Joe, and because I had talked through the chair, Harry and Joe, to Carrie about this before too, with the flooring in there, because there's so much traffic, I mean, particularly during the holidays and the town events, is there flooring that, Joe, you would feel like from like a facilities standpoint would be more appropriate than the carpet tiles that are in there? Or is that kind of standard for what, in terms of maintenance, cleaning, wear and tear, the life of it.
I'm sure you could get somebody to give you a recommendation on what would be the best surface to use, absolutely. I don't pretend to know that, I'm sorry.
No, I just, again, throwing it out there. I'm just not sure what the expense for the carpet would come to. Do we have actual quotes, or is it just an estimate based on?
No, I don't know if Carrie got quotes or not. I honestly don't know.
Okay,
I did not see any quotes, if I might. I haven't seen any quotes from Carrie on the carpeting. I've only shown the cost. If you look, hold on a second here. She did provide a cost of $55,500, which was a cost of $3, I believe, and 1 cent or $3 per square foot.
yeah, that sounds right.
18,500 square feet, but she has it broke it down in program year fiscal 20, 21, and 22 at $15,000 each. I'm not sure how you replace carpeting over a 3-year period.
You can if it's on multiple floors.
Yeah, it would just be the
Okay.
different floors, I think, Harry.
All right, okay, all right. So really, we're not looking at a 50, where are we looking at? Not a $50,000 cost. We are looking at a $15,000 cost for the year. If we wanted to start that in fiscal 22. But I would have to have this kind of rewritten by either you or Carrie that signals that one purchase for 15,000 for this year, because we can't go on a multiple 3-year for replacement. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not going to act on 23 or 24 now. We're going to act on 22.
So
it's
you need to better 22, so you need to know, say, maybe it's just the foyer or just the stairs, that kind of thing?
Yeah, if it's 15 or 16, what's it going to be for that particular year? And then submit another one for the previous year, because she has it broken down by single purchases. So it's nice to have this here, but it's like saying we want a fire truck, but we're going to pay for it over 3 years, because we only want to buy the tires this year. We want to buy this next. That doesn't work for us. So we kind of need to have more definitive paperwork for whatever carpet we want to replace for that period of time. Does that make sense?
It does, but you can also see why she tried to spread it out.
I do, to give us a picture, but for us to recommend it, we can't recommend something like this.
Okay.
We can recommend 1 year, but then we'd have to defer it under discussion to the next year. So it's not a recommendation. So we need to have it more fine-tuned than that if you can, or she can. If you want me, I'll talk to her, unless you want to deal with it, Joe.
No, I can talk to her.
Okay. Is that agreeable with everybody on the committee? I don't want to be stepping on this and just saying from my perspective, but I think it would make more sense for us. Everybody in agreement with that? Without a vote, by the way?
Now, we had originally been told it would be a 3-year plan. An appropriation each year.
Right, but we're not going to vote on the recommendation for 2 years from now.
Right, we'd be voting on 1 year at a time.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what's missing here, that information for that 1 year. What's it going to be? What's it going to cost? Where's it going to go?
Unless she's decided it's better to do it in 1 year all at once. That
Well,
might be harder to fund though.
That's her decision, how she wants to request it. Okay, so we will look for that for 2022. We will look for that $15,000, and I'm sure the price has changed since she submitted this to us. So we'll look, believe me, the cost of carpeting has gone through the roof. So we'll wait for that and see where it falls in, if we can get it fast enough to look at the recommendation on it. Okay. Painting we already discussed. Heating units we discussed. Is there any other issues relating to the library, Joe, that isn't on here that we should be discussing?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Does committee members have enough information for when we take it to a an analysis or recommendations, or is there anything else we need from Joe tonight?
I think aside from what we've asked for, once we have that, we'll have enough information.
Okay,
The takeaways I have is you'd like me to try and find out about siding, but that would be a separate proposal altogether.
yes,
Probably, now, just so we're clear, the administrator tasked individual department heads with preparing capital budgets. So that particular capital plan was put together by the librarian, and I sat in to help on a couple key items. So I'll probably have to talk to both of those folks,
okay,
how they want to proceed about notifying this group.
Okay.
It sounds like you need more clarification as to how, what areas would be carpeted in individual years. You've reestablished the priority of the roof. And it sounds like overall we need some more clarification on the heat.
right.
Did I get all that?
I'm not so, you can correct me, committee members. I don't know if we need clarification on the heat, unless you're talking about, can we put the heat back in the original stuff without doing the roof? Or can the roof be built around the individual things? Because you're planning for each one for five years.
Yeah, and again, I recommended, well, there's heating units both inside the building and outside the building.
Yeah,
So, and they're all around the same vintage and they all seem to be failing. In different-
Harry, I would go out on a limb and I know you were asking whether the existing heating units need to be removed in order for the roof area to be fixed. When I read a report from Weston and Sampson with a magnitude of cost included on it, if in fact that's necessary, I would certainly hope that the order of magnitude cost estimate includes whatever work is required, including if units need to be physically removed to make the repairs. So I don't know that I would look at that as a concern. It
Okay.
should be built into the engineering
Their
study
cost,
that they
yeah.
did.
yeah, okay. Okay.
And their cost is going to be conservative.
Joe, when we talk about a $25,000 heating unit replacement, does that also consider the cost of renting the cranes and everything else that it takes to put it up there? Or is that just for the heating unit?
I have a quote. I don't have it in my off the top of my head. I would imagine it includes placement, but
Okay,
we do have genuine quotes. We did get them from, I think it's Hvac.
yes, I have that. You said, I think I sent it to everybody on the board, on the committee. If I didn't, I will forward it to you. But it was from Hvac?
I don't remember seeing that, Harry.
No? Okay. I would have sent it to you probably around, well, whatever. I'll look back and see if I did. If not, I will get that. The quote was not for the unit itself. The quote was for all the work to put the unit in, which came to an estimate of around, it looks like $20,000, unless the 10-ton RTU is the unit itself, Joe.
10 tons that's a reference for producing heat.
Okay, so 10, that is the unit, $13,000. So their quote to put the unit in, and I'm not seeing a crane here, that's why I'm saying that. Oh yeah, crane, 2,500. So their quote comes to about $21,000 instead of 25 to put a unit in.
What's the date on the quote, Harry?
December 14th, 2020.
So it could change.
It could change, yes, but I'm saying, you know, we had allowed it, we're allowing for 25, but this actually is, which is okay.
Yep.
All right, I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of that then. All right. If we need anything else, Joe, I guess we're okay. Is there any other questions? Because if not, we'll get back in touch with you if we need anything.
Yeah, and again, I have no problem coming in. I wish we had been a little better prepared, but we basically rewrote the whole capital plan in a different format. So.
And we're going to be using this format capital plan going forward now.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, so we'll be able to, because I would like to, I think the committee needs to get a jump on things before this time of the year when we start doing it. So I'm looking at 23, 24. I think we're gonna have you and other people back in here to start discussing future years instead of waiting till this very point in time to do it. All
I
right,
think it's a good idea.
just stuff, okay. All right, any other questions for Joe? He's been a great help here in understanding things. We appreciate you showing up, Joe. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other comments?
Thanks for bearing with us, Joe.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Guys, be well. Hey, if I didn't say it, I hope you and all your family stay healthy.
You too.
Same to
You
you.
guys, Joe. Thank you.
Moving on, I had put on, I had sent you a note that Mike Moriarty, I had contacted him.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night.
Hi, Joe.
I had sent him a notice or a phone call on his cell asking him to attend the meeting tonight. I had told him he should be on around 7:15. In some ways, I'm glad he didn't show up. But Mr. Moriarty, are you there? Because you're not showing up. Nope. Okay. So I'm going to contact him again and see if we can't get him on at the next Zoom meeting, which we should schedule the next two. But I don't know if we're running out of time here for some of these things, because he has some big requests that he wanted for 2022, and I believe you have a copy. It's in your book, by the way. So I don't know if you got it, but it's in your book under communications. So do we have time, do you think, to get him at the next meeting, or we can make a decision? Because February is coming to a close, and we usually try to have our report done by the end of March.
I would think if we can get him in the next week or two, Harry, that would still leave us time, because that, even if we later in that same meeting start to work through our rating process, it would still leave us enough time, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to take what Joe does. I think his time will be less in terms of what we're doing. So I'll reach out to him again.
So we shoot for like 2 weeks from tonight?
2 weeks from tonight. That puts us to the end of February. Do we want to schedule something sooner than that? Or do you think that's plenty of time to do that and then get our report ready?
Well, if he's quick, we can get to work in ranking.
Okay, I'll tell him he's got to do it in 10 minutes. Okay, just kidding.
The most expensive request in 10 minutes.
Yeah, because his request is like $400,000. So that sounds good. Let me bring up my calendar here. And we are looking at, that would be the 25th of February.
That's
How's
right.
that for everybody?
Yep.
And then the next week after that, we are looking at the 11th of March, I believe. 4th, 11th of March. How's that looking for everybody?
Works for me.
Okay, everybody, good. Now, before I let you go, I need to know if there's anybody that has requests that want to go on the agenda, anything that needs to go on there. Because right now we have no new business, so that needs to be discussed. No, nobody has anything? Okay. If you think of it, please email me so I can put it on the agenda. And Dan, thank you the last time for sending me both of those links. I appreciated that. Thank you very much. And I'm assuming that you are still the communications chair then, so to speak, that you will deal with Zoom for us.
I'm putting these two in right now.
Okay. And so now we're going into February and March. That's not too many months left before our year is over. So, Mike, you had mentioned that you might be moving. I hope to God you don't get a house. Okay, that's me personally, though. So,
Well, that's these. It's been put off till spring. We're
okay.
Where are you going, Mike?
looking for a new house. It could be in Rutland. It's possible, but I'm not limiting myself to Rutland.
Well, I'll put the word out that you're not interested in anybody but Rutland, so that should help you out a whole lot. All right, so we have our next 2 days set. Do we have, although we have some new business, collection pond rehab, we weren't ready for that tonight, so I guess by Robert's Rules of Order, we're supposed to make a motion that that will be tabled until the next meeting, but that's not a mandatory, I guess, Robert's Rules of Order. So we can just move that to the next, unless you want to make a motion to move this to next period's business. There's no
What
need.
is it, Harry?
It was the collection pond rehab water treatment facility.
Is there a need? Is there a need to move it to the next meeting? I mean, is there anything we need to discuss on it?
Well, the problem is not the DP. What am I looking for? Department of Environmental, not the
DEP.
DEP is putting pressure on Joe that the ponds where the slush water goes, for example, backwash and all that stuff, needs to be done because it's leaking back in to the pond.
No,
So-
I understand there's an issue,
We don't
but
have to have that on there, Joe. No.
yeah, that's my question. Unless there's an official request for us to consider something specific, I don't know that we need to be carrying an item, forward on an agenda
Yeah.
until Joe presents an item to us to actually
Okay.
consider.
Yeah, I put that on there kind of like if we could get ahead of the situation, if there was one, just to lightly discuss it, but not necessary, no. So we don't have to put that on. Okay, so we'll leave that off the next one. Anything, we have nobody else on there, I guess, so there's no business from the floor. All right, do I have, hearing nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll
We'll give a
make
motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Michael has a motion to adjourn, Joe has seconded. Can I have a roll call? Any discussion on that? None needed. Can I have a roll call vote, starting with Joe?
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mitch?
Nay.
Oh,
I like
okay.
hanging out with you guys.
Troublemaker.
Dan, roll call vote?
Aye.
Okay. Chair, aye. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned at 7:53 PM.
By a vote of 4-1, we're adjourned.
4-1.
That's right, 4-1, Mitch.